I'd like to know your point of view.
And I'm really sorry I'm late. I almost didn't do this at all tonight because I ran into technical difficulties. But I am seeing people here, which is really fantastic. Maybe this hour later is better. Totally on the fly tonight because I don't even have it set up. As you can see, I'm all kind of discombobulated here. I don't, but hopefully, give me a thumbs up and stuff if you can hear me. I got a question about two narcissists together, and can two narcissists make a relationship work? Well, we know that they can because a lot of us have parents in such a case. I mean, most of them don't last, obviously, but there are quite a few relationships that last forever, and quite frankly, some of the worst relationships that I know of, where the people are really the most abusive, are relationships where people have stayed married. My parents have been, together forever, and then also my sons, both of their primary girlfriends that they had in their lives, both had longtime married parents that were truly some of the most dysfunctional people that I've ever seen. So I'm not, obviously, the ideal is to be like my husband now. His parents, my parents-in-law, they're the ideal. They married young, and they're lovely, and they're in love, and they're great and healthy, and they raised two healthy kids, and all that. But among the couples that I know that have lived out the duration, that they are the exception to the rule. But we know that they can make it work. So how is that working? And also, like my husband now, my ex-husband is now with a woman who's just like him. Well, maybe not just like him, but she's certainly not like me. She's certainly, he had transferred the target role. He had transferred that onto my oldest son, Noah. And the woman that he's with is much more like him. So, how is that working? Well, I actually did some research, and there's not a ton about it out there, but I actually consulted with Sam Vaknin about it, and I'm going to talk to him. I'm talking with him in the morning about a question that I had. I'm going to talk to you guys about that in just a second. He's kind of a fascinating guy. Him and his wife, they're kind of fascinating. Anyways, so basically the thing is as long as they're not the same type, because they'll tend to compete. So if they're both the, say, cerebral narcissists, and they're both in, say, they're both professors, which actually I know a couple exactly like this, and they were competitive, and they did last for ever and ever and ever, and then they broke up in their 60s. Very strange. Or maybe even 70s. I mean, they were grandparents. They were, had raised 3 kids into their well into their 30s, but maybe 40s even, before they divorced. So go figure. But they were both professors. And so as long as they and actually for them to both be narcissists, but different kinds, may be sort of the ideal, because they will be flattering to each other in different ways. And the way that Sam Vaknin describes it is that they will feel about the other person almost like a art collector feels about his art collection, or about like their a prized possession, like that. So say you have a cerebral narcissist with one that's more somatic. So one that's, the stereotypical will be the beautiful woman and the rich, successful guy. That's the stereotypical case. So you go right to Donald Trump. You think of Donald Trump exactly that. So I don't know if any of his ex-wives or current wife are narcissists. Hard to say, but I don't think so, because the kids seem sort of like they have their heads on straight. So you think there'd be some amount of somebody teaching them some kind of empathy or something. Of course, I have empathy, and I was raised by 2, but I had grandparents really close by. I've always come to the conclusion that if health was what we're seeking. Our brains and our hearts and our bodies are seeking health, and so it's like if we can if there's any way to get it, we'll get it. We'll try and really get it. It's, and so I really think that even if you have, because it was just so devastating when all this discard and everything started happening to me, how I lost everyone. And that was because the good people that I had were elderly. They were my grandparents and they had died. But it was enough. Like, I turned out being this very empathic person, even without having empathic parents or an empathic brother. And even some of my closest friends that I had chosen, and certainly boyfriends and lovers, and they, I had picked a lot of people that were really, really, low compassion, low empathy people, but yet I still had really intact empathy. And so I think that if you just have one person, one really good person who loves you unconditionally and is modeling that for you, you'll seek that. You'll seek health. And so the thing too about the narcissistic couple is that it has to feed. And so if they're the same kind and they're competing, there won't be enough narcissistic supply. That's just it. They'll bag out because there won't be enough narcissistic supply. And so a narcissist he'll only provide narcissistic supply if it's also doing it for him at the same time. And so that can work. That can work in the relationships I talked about, where the somatic and the cerebral, where they're really different. Also, the inverted narcissist, which is a term which I'm not completely comfortable with, or not, but I think this is what my mother is, in fact, or at least was. I think she might have become more of as time went on. I think she changed. But when they were early on, I think that she was more like, he was an overt narcissist. She had that tendency. She wanted to be that, but she wasn't confident enough, or didn't have. She was female. She grew up poor, and she just didn't have model to know how to even be that. So I think she was attracted to that in my father, and got to kind of do it vicariously through him. And then over time, as she matured and became more of an equal and all that, it became more of her own overt narcissistic self. But I do think that she's changed over time. Well, they all have. They've all only just gotten worse in the discard. When the grandparents died, straight downhill after that, and but yeah, they just really have gotten worse. But the other thing that's really, really important about it is, in fact, they're almost, in some ways, the only person that could really be with them for the duration, because they know what each other needs, and they will create. And this is what my parents are doing, and they are locked into it. They will be the keeper, the curator, and of the memories. So they will. So now, when they're aging and they don't have all the things that they can go get the supply from. Now they have the person that will tell them, remember when, and they can fix their memory for them. So they have each other, so they can both continue to be wonderful parents. They can come up with their explanation about what happened to me, and they can just rewrite history, a shared history that they like together better, and keep it going that way. And there's really almost no one else that they can be in relationship with, and they almost aren't. They almost really aren't. They have they live in a new place now where people didn't know me at all, and so I'm sure they've just rewritten history completely and written me right out of it, or made up some story about who I am. And then they, as time went on after the discard, I would come in contact with them every now and then, and it had been like several years when my son died, and so there came some slight amount of contact when he, not like they came over and how to be compassionate parents and loving parents, not like that, but I think I got like a text message or something, and but it wasn't long before the point of it was, where it was clear that the point of it was to get Narcissistic Supply, that it was clear that she had contacted me to find out that I was in pain and to tell me her version of the story. And the version of the story had just continued to get, they'd written basically, it had been like 16 years, and they had written all of it out, but about 6 months. They'd written the whole story out, except for about 6 months. And, and even that was really tainted and twisted, but it was 6 months that served their purposes. And so, and those 6 months were from about like 2003, so it was a long time ago. But, it's that they anybody else would mess with their false reality. So that's what I see. I see that they just, how else are they going to keep it going?